Welcome to season 3 of the Venue Success Podcast, where every episode this season is a quick, actionable tip from yours truly, Tirzah, to help elevate your venue. Today, I'm going to be talking all about open houses, and there's so much that I would love to share with you, but I also want to be respectful of your time and understand that I don't have an hour to tell you all the things that I want to tell you. So I'm just going to give you some of the highlights. For those of you that were at the Wedding MBA back in November of 2025, I did do a very quick summary about open houses. I'm going to take a little bit of a deeper dive today. So if you heard my talk, just know there'll be some extra things that we're going to talk about as it relates to open houses. At the time of this recording, it is engagement season. It's January 2026. And I know that so many of you are up to your eyeballs planning your open houses. This is a very common time for bridal shows and open houses. January, February, March are always times that I see a lot of people capitalizing on engagement season, which is very smart, honestly. One of the things that I want to start with is talking about my definition of what an open house is. If you're watching the video version of this podcast today, just know I'm looking off to the side a little bit because I want to make sure that I'm staying on target with the content for today. But let me just jump right in with how I define an open house, because I think of open houses a lot like when people say that they have a venue that's all inclusive. And I immediately know that term has lost a lot of its meaning. There are people that say that they're all inclusive and all that they provide at the venue is tables and chairs. I know, hopefully most of you know, that does not mean all inclusive. And so I think a similar thing has happened with the term open house, is that somehow it has lost a little bit of its meaning. So for the purposes of what I'm going to be sharing with you today, let me just give you my definition of an open house. A venue open house is a curated, invitation-only event that showcases your venue alongside trusted vendors, giving clients and prospects an immersive, hands-on experience of your space in action. So yes, even if you aren't an all-inclusive venue, I believe that the open house should be an event that a lot of times people approach the open house and they don't actually even understand why they're having one to begin with. So that really kind of is the beginning of that conversation that I want you to have. Now, listen, if you are literally in the midst of planning an open house right this very moment, don't be discouraged if I say some things today that you're like, oh my gosh, I wish I had handled that a little bit differently. Don't worry about it. There's always the next one. For us, we did 2 to 3 open houses every year. And so we were able to perfect our process kind of as we went along. But really, truly, the number one mistake that a lot of venues make is that they don't understand their objective. They don't understand who their audience is. So let me just start with that very question. Why are you having an open house? Why? And who are the people that you're wanting to attend this open house? And a lot of that kind of depends on your why, correct? So let's think about that. There's really only 2 camps of people that would attend an open house, right? We have your current clients and your prospective clients. It gets a little tricky sometimes for people because they think, oh, an open house is predominantly for prospective clients. And there's some downsides to that, honestly. There's some pros and cons in both directions. But you're going to see, and I know many of you already do, you start posting on your social media all about your open house for prospective clients, right? And then your current clients are like, but I want to come, but I want to come. And so that you're left with this predicament of, do I allow them to come to an event that really is truly not for them? And so let's kind of talk about some of the reasons to have an open house. And for purposes of today, I'm just going to kind of breeze through these and kind of just set some framework. So for current clients, there's 3 main reasons. One is to bring their friends and family to see the venue. I think this is actually an incredibly important reason, because for any of you that have maybe more than 50 events a year, you understand the thorn and the side that is our current clients wanting to come back multiple times. I want to bring my planner. I want to bring my mom. I want to bring my mother-in-law. I want to bring my maid of honor. And they keep wanting to come back. And so when you have a couple predetermined events per year that are public for current clients, that's a great way to tell them, absolutely, we want you to come back. Here's a great time that you can come and bring friends and family. And actually, we always have those scheduled a year to a year and a half in advance so that when people are booking, we can immediately tell them, here's our next two public events that you can attend and bring friends and family to. And it really kind of declutters our schedule. Make sense? The other reason for a current client to come that is absolutely incredible is to explore upgrades and to add vendors. So even if you're not an all-inclusive venue, we could all agree that we want to have vendors at our venue that we know, like, and trust, people that are easy to work with, people that we know represent our brand well. So even if you're not partnering with them, if you don't have profit sharing with them, whatever the case may be, you still want to have an event where you can let people be introduced to your favorite vendors, right? Now, upgrades. This really became one of the predominant reasons why we had an open house. When we added our bar service in 2020, it was something that I had very strategically chosen not to do up until that point. But when 2020 happened, of course, let's not get too deep into that. I was stressed about my business. I was stressed over losing $500,000 in 5 months. And so I was looking for an added income stream. It took me 5 months to get my alcohol permits and get everything buttoned up with that. And so when we added alcohol, we started doing tastings for perspectives, of course, as well. Anyone can be a part of it, but predominantly for current clients to come do a tasting because they would bring the parents. What we inevitably found is that when the parents came to do the tasting, they always were wanting to upgrade to a higher tier. And we had to kind of keep getting creative with this. We actually created we typically had 3 tiers. We added a 4th one that was like, customize your experience, the sky's the limit type of thing. And we found that on average, no joke, people, on average, every open house, our clients were upgrading in total about $25,000 to $30,000 of alcohol upgrades at every open house. Is that a good enough reason to have an open house? Yes, even if that was the only reason, right? Okay, so number 1, for current clients, right? Bring friends and family. Number 2, explore upgrades and add vendors. And number 3 is to create community and connection. What I want to express to you is that, and we're going to be talking about this in some future weeks, specifically about Gen Z and the way that they are experiencing their engagement and the things that are priority to them. One of the things that is very important for Gen Z is that they're wanting community, they want connection, they want something experiential to do, and they don't necessarily want these gigantic, big, huge 2,000 people bridal shows. They go to them, though, because they're looking for something fun to do as an engaged couple. What else is there that is designed just for an engaged couple to attend? And so these open houses, and this is why I think that you have these open houses that are predominantly for prospective clients. When you have your current couple saying, can I come? It's not because they need to meet with you. It's not because they necessarily have some need. They're just looking for something to do. I hope that that really causes you to pause and think, oh, wow. Like, I think sometimes we're so deep in the weeds that we forget that there's couples that are truly looking for an opportunity to enjoy the process of being engaged. So much about the engagement process is planning the wedding, and they're so stressed out, and planning a fun event for them is a way to also deepen your connection to them and for them to deepen their love for the venue that they chose, right? And then you have that social proof where they're tagging you and posting that they're going to your event. There's so many positives about that. Okay, so let's talk about why an open house is great for perspectives. This is a little bit more obvious, right? Number 1, it's to see the venue for the first or second time. When I mentioned previously that there are some downsides to an open house for perspectives, this is the little downside. When you have this big open house, ours were huge. So I don't necessarily want to use me as an example of having 300 plus people at an event. But say you have 100 and you have someone coming to your venue for the first time and they've never met someone, they've never shaken your hand, like they're just seeing the venue literally for the first time. In my experience, most of those people are not going to come back for a second tour and they're not going to book on this spot. I've just seen this, and I'm not saying that's across the board, but I've just seen this experientially doing this for decades. And so there was a time and place when we used to be like, let's get as many prospects to the open house as possible because it's going to save us some time not having to do those one-on-one tours, right? And it was an experiment. One of the things that I found is that it was harder to get those people to come back for a second tour. So here's my encouragement to you. If you have an open house coming up, still book your tours like normal. Have them come out, have them get a personalized quote, have that one-on-one time with them, even if the open house is in the next coming week. Because then what you could say to them is, hey, we have this super fun open house coming up. We'd love to have you come. We've got some really cool giveaways, some cool incentives, blah, 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 whatever, however you're marketing your event, right? And then when they come out to the venue for the second or third time, they've already been there. They've made a personal connection with you. And so them, if you have some on-site booking incentive, which I would definitely encourage you to do, they're going to be more likely to do that because they're not like a deer in the headlights seeing the venue for the first time. Does this make sense? So again, the caution is not sending everyone to the open house and skipping the first step of the tour. The second reason is similar to the second reason with current clients. It's for you to showcase your preferred or in-house vendors, right? You're wanting always these events to feel more than just opening the doors of your venue and letting people walk around. That is not interesting for them. That is not fun for them. That is not really putting your best foot forward, in my personal opinion. I've tried it. And then the last thing for prospective clients is to win something or to get some free goodies. So we would always have a couple things. One, when they came in, we had a really beautiful registration table, and we would have two separate types of bags. Okay. So one bag would be white, and that was for our current clients. The second bag was green, and those were for prospective clients. So what was cool about this is it allowed couples, when they walked around and they were interacting with my staff or the vendors, they weren't asking them the same question over and over and over again, trying to figure out if they've booked or not. So if they saw the green bag, they knew green means go. Talk to them, try to book their services, try to make a sales connection with them. If they were a white bag, it was more of a relational conversation. If they've already booked them, they could say hello and deepen their connection with them, right? So that bag strategy that I created a few years ago has been incredible. And lots of venues have taken that tip and have been doing it. So it's definitely a really cool strategy. And then we would always have a fun giveaway. Now, how do we handle the giveaway? I'm not going to get into that today, but let me just tell you in short that if they would come and they would get two little tickets, and then there would be a table full of all these different giveaways. Some were for current clients and some were for prospective clients. So maybe the one for the prospective clients is going to have some incentives for discounts if they book. Maybe for the current clients, it was some upgrades that they could get for free, whatever. Again, I go deep into details on this in my open house blueprint, and I'll talk about that in a minute. So we always had this fun climax to the event towards about 30 minutes before the end of the event where we had this big giveaway, and it was super, super fun. Okay. So again, to summarize, why do you have an open house for prospective clients? To see the venue for the first, second, or third time, to showcase preferred or in-house vendors, or to win something and get free goodies. So those bags that I told you about, they would be able to go around to all of the vendors that I hand selected to be there. And if they had a green bag, all of my vendors that were there had some type of fun goodie that they could put in their bag, right? Again, that's one of the big reasons why people go to these big bridal showcases that have thousands of people there, they're really predominantly going to win stuff. And that's why I tell venues, gosh, I've done so many bridal shows. I think a lot of the people that go to bridal shows are not looking to book their most important vendor, which is the venue. They've either already booked it or they have already boiled it down. Like, it's just not the place that most people are looking for the venue. It's too important. And so I think a lot of them have booked already and they're looking for some of those other types of vendors, DJs, florists, and things like that. And again, predominantly, I think they're going to win stuff because they have these big, win a 5-night vacation at Sandals in Jamaica or whatever, win your wedding bands, win this or that. That's the big pull that brings people in to attending bridal shows. And that's why a lot of them walk past your unbelievably well thought through booth, and you've spent thousands of dollars paying for the booth and preparing for the booth, and they walk right past you. Again, most of the time, I know this is a sweeping statement, most of the time they're just not looking for a venue at a bridal show. When you have one at your venue specifically, you know that the people are coming are either, again, your current clients, who is all your best marketing tool are your current clients. You know that? Like, your absolute best marketing tool are your currently booked clients. And then the prospects that are coming, you know that they're hot leads. Otherwise, they would not have stepped foot on your property. And so another great reason to blend them together. Another thing that I will say as a pro to having them together is that if you're a smaller venue and you're doing it just for prospects, you might not have critical mass, which is really important for a vibrant event. And so combining them together can be really great. Now, on the flip side, if you're like me and you do 120 plus a year, these events very quickly could have over 300 people at them, and then you have some other issues that you need to deal with. And so just keep in mind that you want to be cognizant that it's not too small or too big, that there's a really happy medium in there. So really the bottom line is, hopefully you get this already, is that I really believe that if you're going to spend the time, the money to plan these big events, they should be kind of serving both of those categories, if that makes sense. Having separate events, I just don't see any benefit of that. And if everyone knows as they're coming that there's both types of people there, it's really honestly not a big deal. And one of the things that I found is that when I had some of my currently booked clients there, they were getting into organic, wonderful conversation with prospective clients and almost selling the venue for me, which was bonkers. Anyway, yes, I think doing both is great. So there's some pros and cons to a blended open house. I'm just going to quickly share those with you. So again, like I said, one of the pros to blending is that it creates critical mass. Having more people there, I think, is more efficient for your team. Planning these events is an incredible amount of work. It really, really is. It takes months of preparation, and it does get easier with time. But if any of you have planned these before, you know that they're extremely exhausting. And so I think blending it, there is some efficiency for your team. And like I said, like the built-in testimonials, when you have current clients there talking to prospective clients, there's a lot of positive synergy there. And then the live social proof, this is something that was surprising for me, in that every single open house that we had, and this was specifically with my currently booked clients, they would often say, "Oh my gosh, Tirzah, I've never seen one of the events, because we booked with you. We've never attended a wedding here. Seeing how you produce an open house gives me even more confidence about how you're going to plan my wedding, because this is so just incredibly done." And they had so much fun. And then they're always telling me, "I can't wait for my wedding." And so it really lets you show off how great you are at producing events, which I hope you're great at. So I guess that could be something to be careful of, is that if you plan an open house and it's not done well, the opposite effect could happen, and that people are like, "Oh my gosh, they can't even plan an open house. What's going to happen on my wedding day?" So just keep that in mind. So some of the cons for crowd management, I told you we had to always do a ticketed event. They had to register ahead of time. It was always free, of course, but we wanted them to register just because we had a capacity issue. And so if you're a big venue like mine and you know that you might run out of space kind of with parking and things like that, you want to be cognizant of that as well. I think the other kind of con is that you have divided attention. When you have your current clients there, we would always have a set of separate emails that we would send to our current clients, kind of letting them know that this is not a time for us to get in the weeds talking about their details of their specific event, right? Like we want to hug them, we want to say hi, we want to see how things are going, but we couldn't have a sidebar mini final meeting with them at these events. And so there could be that pull for you as a venue owner, as a manager, where you're like kind of really wanting to focus on sales, which is legitimate, but also wanting to hug the necks of all of your people that are coming to visit. So that can be a con for sure. I think staffing, I mentioned this just because if you're having 300 people at the property, you're going to really want to make sure that you have plenty of staff there. And if you're just a venue only and you don't have a lot of part-time staff on your payroll, you're going to need to contact friends and family or whoever it is and just pull your village in so that you have enough staff to do a really great event. And I'm talking greeters at your entrance, greeters at your doors, plenty of people at the registration table. Again, people that are picking up trash, just all of the things. And I go through specifically in my venue open house blueprint where I talk about all of the different staff positions that you need, what they should be doing, and all of that jazz. And then finally, some of the cons to the blended open house kind of goes back to what I said previously, is that there's some reduced personalization. So if you have a lot of people that are attending your open house and they are coming to the venue for the first time, it's not going to feel as personal to them. Maybe, they're not having a one-on-one conversation with your sales team. Maybe they are coming in and out and you've never even got to really greet them, right? So there could be some downsides there. So the open house blueprint, and I have a few more things to share with you, but I created this actually because when I was speaking at the wedding MBA, they wanted me to talk about tours and open houses. And literally, I had no time to do both in 45 minutes. And so I created this blueprint, not knowing how much it was absolutely going to blow up. It's been incredible. And it's not a video training. It's a book that I actually went through all of my files, all of my historical data. I've sat with my wedding planner who planned a lot of these with me. It went through just a lot of different hands to make sure that I wasn't missing any key elements. And so it's a close to 40 pages booklet. And it has all of my planning timelines, my marketing plan, which in and of itself is golden. It has all my email templates that I would send to prospective clients and my current clients. It had so I have a vendor application. So it's very kind of formal the way that I do it. And I talk about how you can expect to have people pay to participate and my rationale behind that. Then I have a bunch of experiential ideas, things that will immediately resonate with Gen Z that I'm telling you, every single one of these ideas I've tried, and I like to keep things fresh and new and always had great responses. So I'm giving you all of my experiential ideas and my day of checklists. So all of the different positions that you need to have at open house, what they will specifically be doing. And you guys, is absolutely bonkers. So I will put the link to get that in the show notes. But if you just pop over to tirzahcafe.com and click on online resources, scroll down, you'll see that listed there. And I'm blanking on how much it is. It's under $100. So go grab it. It will be some of the best money that you spent. Even if you already have your open house planned, this document can give you some great ideas about how to handle your registration table and all of that. One of the things that was the feedback that I got after Wedding MBA, and people were emailing me and asking more details about this, and I just didn't have time to dig into that, is how do you use an open house to sell on the spot? And every single open house that we've done, I never close an open house without sealing a deal. And on average, we would close probably 3 to 5 clients at every open house. And that might seem low to you. It might seem high to you. I don't know. I always felt really proud of that. But back in the day, this is the way that we did it. And it was such a different time when we did this. But back in the day, this is probably, a decade ago, we would have these open houses, and they really were predominantly for prospective clients, right? We'd have a couple hundred people. We always allowed current clients to come, of course, but we didn't really have much of an agenda with them because we didn't have alcohol at the time and all of the things. Anyway, so we set up my whole sales team. So there would be 3 to 4 tables with computers, with printers, with packets, and people would sign up for a time to get a personalized quote with us exclusive at the open house. You guys, it was insane. Absolutely insane. And we did at that time when we were doing that, we were closing at least 10 clients at every open house, but it was incredibly exhausting. But we were literally having them sign the contract on the spot. I had to adjust the strategy with Gen Z because it was way too much for them. It was way too overwhelming for them. And it was too many decisions to make at one time. And so our strategy adapted, as you should when you understand who you're selling to and what their needs are and what their values are, right? We decided, okay, we're going to have some booking incentives if they hold their date at the open house. And that has always been our strategy with, we never have people go directly into contract because being all inclusive, we want them to have time to kind of chew on the specific package that they're choosing and all of that. And it's a bit too much to do that at a tour. So we tell them, hey, listen, we're going to have our date availability, easy access to that. And if you want to secure your date, it's $500. Here's the booking incentive that we can apply if you hold your date at the open house. And so it's literally a 1-page sheet that is their basic information, secures their date for them. And then while they're there, we're booking an appointment for them to come back in a more relaxed environment, talk through our packages, and sign their contract and pay their official first payment. Again, our sales team is looking for the people with the green bags because we know that they're not a book client. And so we have a specific strategy around meeting specifically with those people, answering their questions, talking about date availability, having a whole sales strategy, a table with all of the pertinent information easily accessible to them. And that's where I always positioned myself because that's my superpower is selling. And so I would have myself and at least 2 other team members at the sales table. And then my wedding planners were at strategic other locations away from me. Very important, having their friendly, fluffy little conversations that weren't distracting to me when I was trying to be super focused on the sales element. And so I do think it would be a missed opportunity if you didn't have the ability to have someone hold their date at an open house. Now, I don't pencil in dates. Hold the dates are $500 and they are non-refundable, and the form that they fill out says that. So I am oh my gosh, I wish I could soapbox on that. I am very against penciling in dates. Why in the world would you do that? There's zero benefit to doing that. So if someone wants you to take that date off of your inventory, there has to be a cost associated with it and it needs to be non-refundable. So anyway, you could differ with me, but I guess that was my years of doing this and seeing the flip side of what happens when we pencil in dates. So open houses, absolutely so powerful. One of the things that I would say about open houses that can be a challenge for people doing them in engagement season is when you're doing them at your property, when your property is not looking its best. And so if you're in a cold climate and the property just doesn't look great in January and February, I would potentially adjust your strategy around that. For us, I always chose to do it. We're in North Carolina in early March. It wasn't leaves on the trees yet, but we had daffodils and tulips popping and it was incredibly beautiful and people were excited that spring was coming. You know that feeling when the tulips start to pop and it just gets you a little flutter inside? Like it did that for our current clients and prospectives. It was just something about that was very strategic for me to not have them come in February when it was freezing cold. The grass is completely dead. So I do think there should be some strategy around planning it when your property looks great. So we would have ours typically in March. Then we would do another one in August or September. So that always tended to be a really beautiful peak of summer, gorgeous summertime event. And then the third event that we had was, if you listen to my previous podcast, was our Christmas at the Homestead event, which was a version of an open house, but not strategic to push sales, right? And so it just didn't feel right to me. And that was an event that current and prospective clients could come to, but it was really kind of my give back to the community. It was a fun, experiential event where people could come and just enjoy the holiday season. So again, 3 events that were always planned a minimum of a year in advance so that we could be telling people, hey, this is what we have coming up. Be sure to mark your calendar. And the Christmas at the Homestead event, if you have not listened to that, please go back and listen. That was an event that I strategically created to have something that my past clients could come back to year after year after year, because I knew that they were, again, my best marketers. And so those people that got married, all of their friends are in that similar stage of life. And so when I keep them continually plugged into my venue, it keeps me top of mind. And I would always get some residual sales because of my marketers that were all around telling people about what a great experience that they had at our venue. So that is where I will leave it today. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Again, I will put the link to the open house blueprint in the show notes, but just go to tirzahcafe.com and click on online resources and you could see all of those listed out there. Open houses, again, my friends, are so very important, but they could be an absolute waste of your time and money if you don't have a strategy behind it. So my loving suggestion to you is to go back to the drawing board, sit either by yourself or with your team if you have one, and really strategize. How are we going to serve our prospective clients? How are we going to serve our current clients? What is the end goal and what is the path to get there? And if you need the path, go grab the open house blueprint and it answers so very many of your questions. That is all I have for you today, my beautiful friends. Thank you for joining me. If you are finding value in the Venue Success podcast, it would mean the world to me if you could be sure to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel or wherever you like to listen to the podcast, and be sure to leave me a wonderful rating. It would mean a lot to me, just because we are really trying to get this podcast into as many venue owner hands as possible. So we'll see you next time on the Venue Success Podcast.